today is a special day. Today is the first ever daily Tredz. So welcome to the first ever live. So what I'm going to be doing here, you can see on the treadmill and about it. So right now I have my watch on and I'm trying to get about, where am I at today? Let's see. I'm about 5,000 steps today. And so something I thought about was, why don't I bring you along the journey? Why don't I bring this treadmill? I'm on this treadmill anyways, and why don't I just share some thoughts with you of the day? I gotta walk on this treadmill. Well, I'm choosing to walk on this treadmill, so I might as well share some insights with you. Some daily wins, talk to you about, things that could help you win the day, win at life, things that are working for me. And so today, on the first step of daily Tredz, which is daily wins, I'm gonna talk to you about how to build your body. But before we get started and talking about that, I wanna start with an idea, a thought process. And it's a quote that is really something that I hold really dear to my heart, and something that I've had to hold dear to my heart because, the quote goes like this: "Don't see me for who I am today, but who I will be in the future." You ask someone, let me see your habits and I'll show you where you'll be in 5 years. And so the reason I'm saying that is because you don't know where you're at right now, maybe. Maybe you don't know how to get to where you want to get to, but you have the motivation, but you have the determination, but you just don't know the exact strategies. You don't know exactly what to implement. You don't know how it looks, but you have that drive. You're determined. You want to live your ultimate life. You don't know how to get there. Well, if that resonates with you, it's what happened to me and what's been happening to me. So today we're going to talk about how to build your body. And so, there's a lot to goes into, from my understanding. If you start from basic understanding, you got to go to the gym, you got to eat well. But what specifically do you got to do? What are the specific things you got to do in order to build your body, in order to have the body you want? Well, the reason I say is, don't see me for who I am today, but who I will become. Because I'm on the path. You can see, I'll try to show you some of that. I'm on the path to building my body. It's not fully there yet. But I've been putting this body in my mind since 2019. It's now 2022. So almost 3 years I've been researching, putting myself around people that understand how to build their body. And each of us wants our body to go to certain ways and look a certain way, and that's completely up to us. But today, I want to talk to you about how to build lean muscle and have a low percent of body fat. So I've field tested a lot. I've really field tested a lot. And I've gotten some progress, for sure. I've gotten progress, I've gotten results. But then at times I haven't gotten any results. Just to give you a background on my body, I've been a vegan for some time. I've been a vegetarian for about 8 years. And now I've tested out carnivore. I've tested out keto. I've tested a lot of diets. I've done CrossFit, tried out CrossFit. I've done long distance running. I was a surfer. I tried a lot of different things out to test what really works. And that's one thing that you got to do for yourself. I would encourage you to do for yourself as well, is test out what works for you. What are the goals you want? What do you want to achieve in your body? But today I want to share with you what I found is working right now for me, and I'm on the path and I'm gaining results like I've never gained before. So let's get into the actual specifics of what it is you got to do. Well, to start out, look at what I'm doing right now. Why am I walking on a treadmill? There's this thing called low cardiovascular activity. So basically, walking is really powerful. So I don't know if you saw this guy, Eddie Hall, the world's strongest man. He was a massive dude, big guy. But if you saw his body transformation, just go look this up, go look up at his body transformation. He lost a lot of weight. And how he lost that was through walking. Now, my coach, who owns Nirvana Strength here in Bali, he was telling me, we just went through a body transformation and I was trying to lose body fat. And this guy had me working like 6 days a week, and I felt like I'm doing something wrong here. Like, I'm doing way too much output for the little results that I'm getting. Like, I'm getting results, but like I'm not losing enough. And I know that he mentioned to me that I should walk, but I didn't really take it seriously because he didn't really put an emphasis on it. And so I went through this 3-month body transformation, fat loss, and I didn't really lose much fat. I mean, I did. I lost about 3.5% body fat. But from my research, you should be doing, a bit more. Like, I had no idea, but I started out, I'd been working out through the year. This is so crazy, right? Think about this. I've been training throughout the year, and I'm still at 20% body fat. Like, that doesn't make sense with how training I'm doing. But then, this is where the experts come in, right? It's like, great, you got the motivation, you got determination, but what about your body? What's the 80-20? That's what we're looking for here, right? We're looking for the 80-20. How can I optimize my life? And so I started like, okay, I'm after doing this body transformation, I did not see the results I was looking for. So I was like, okay, I gotta jump on here a bit more. I got to look a little bit deeper in this. And so what I started doing is I researched the power of walking and what it can do for you as far as fat loss. And so I live a life, which is kind of interesting in Bali. I live a life where I sit at a desk, I work at a desk all day, then I go on a scooter, I sit, and I go to a gym and I train, but we don't really walk that much. So then I started tracking my steps. And I'm like, I'm doing about 2,000 steps a day. And I was like, oh man, like the baseline is about between it depends what you're after, but you need at least 5,000 steps in a day. But if you're looking to do fat loss, you want to do between 7,000 to 10,000 steps a day. But what's so great about walking is it's low impact. So you can do it 5 days a week, 6 days a week if you want to, and it's not going to affect your body. You can recharge, you can recover. So for example, I'm going to go walk right now. I got the timer for 20 minutes. Helps my brain recharge from the sales job that I'm doing, and then allows me to go back in and drop back into the pocket. It's good because it gets a little bit of my heart rate up. My heart rate's up a little bit, but not too crazy. And then what it does is it promotes fat burning. So when you activate the body in a different way, you're using different parts of your body. Your body is an intelligent machine. But for some reason, and you can look in the research, I would encourage you to go look at the research of this. But for some reason, I can't remember it right now, but for some reason when you walk, it activates fat burning. So it's such a good combo. So you want to track your steps in the day. When I looked at my steps, and these guys that are jacked online, I was like, whoa, these guys are walking like 7,000 to 10,000 steps a day. And so I started looking at this as a model to start modeling and incorporating in my morning, and I go walk on the beach. And then in between my sales calls, I come in here and I go for a 20-minute walk. All right, next one. I started researching, I started researching the calorie deficit. Now this is something I've been researching for quite some time, but you want to be in a calorie deficit, depending for what you want, right? So the idea is you're not in a calorie deficit so you lose muscle mass, right? Lean muscle mass. What we want is like, the shoulders to look, tight and big. You don't want to start losing your muscle. But what you do want to do is you want to start losing your belly fat and all the fat in those hard to reach places to get rid of. So what I started realizing is I did the calculation for myself, and I realized that I need to be at my height. I'm about 5'9", and right now I currently weigh about 175. And for my current weight, I need to eat about 2,400 calories. And then on leg days, I'll probably go to around 2,600. But the key component of this, it doesn't matter, from my research, I encourage you to research this yourself, but for my research, it doesn't matter if you're a vegan, doesn't matter if you're vegetarian, doesn't matter if you're carnivore, any of these things. If you eat over calories, you're gonna. All right, we're back. Got a little internet connection. Welcome to Bali. So trying to lose that weight has been a little bit of a challenge for me. So what I've learned is to go in a calorie deficit. So what I'm realizing as I've started to combine walking with my calorie deficit, I'm starting to really get results within gaining lean muscle mass and getting the fat off the body. Now, remember what I said at the beginning of this. Don't see me for who I am today, but who I will become. Because I'm starting to click. You know, this has been a 3-year journey of trying to understand this. So now, all I gotta do is, now here's the thing. Here's the checklist that I've learned so far. You gotta get your steps up. You gotta be walking. You gotta add in that low cardiovascular. You don't need that high intensity. If you want, it's the way to go, but it's gonna be hard to sustain. Get yourself in a calorie deficit. Make sure you calculate the calories that you want to take in for your size and where you're wanting to go. So if you're wanting to put on muscle and you're wanting to bulk, but what you want to be mindful is not to bulk and then put on fat, right? You want to lean out while you're putting on size. So you got to calculate the calories for that. Next one, you want to know your macros. We want to be getting 40% protein in a day. So if you eat meat, it's easy, just eat more meat, right? Like, you're gonna wanna be eating more meat. And ideally, that protein is whole foods. It's a whole protein. So something that I just tested and I went and saw, I'm eating a lot of, before I was eating a lot of protein shakes, but there's a lot of processing going on in that. So it's really not ideal. So ideally, you eat lean protein that is whole foods like steaks and chickens and again, and I can't recommend. I would go and see a doctor or advise someone that has more experience. I can just tell you from my experience what I've learned. So 40% in your macros, you want 40% protein. And then a good idea is like, let's say like, I think my height in centimeters is 175. So you just give a gram of protein per your height. So 175 grams of protein a day is essentially what I'm looking for. And of my macros, I need it to be 40%. Then you can do 40% carbs. What I'm finding is ideally, I don't eat carbs in my first meal. So I break my fast around 1 o'clock. And in that fast, I don't eat any carbs. I just eat eggs, meat, and that's about it, and some bone broth. And then in the second meal, that's where I bring in carbs, because I was going straight carnivore before, but I was losing energy. I needed to put some carbs in to help me burn on energy. So then what I realized was, oh, let me just go. I'll be able to still put on the mass and still burn fat. And so these are the combinations. Next one, you got to get your steps in. Got to be walking at least 7,000 to 10,000 a day. Now, or let's say 6,000, at least 6,000. So ideally, what you do is at the beginning of your day or at the end of your day, just go for a walk. Put in some headphones, listen to something, start a live series while you're walking on the treadmill once a day, talk about something, but listen to something or start your day, go meditate, and then walk as well. This is what I'm doing as well. But get those steps in, because that's gonna really help. And then a big one is your sleep. This is something I'm working on right now. I do have pretty solid sleep, especially with my work schedule right now, but I would consider working on your sleep. So just to recap, just to summarize, be in a calorie deficit so that you go into a fat burning stage, but not too small of a deficit where you're not gaining lean muscle mass. Second one, know your macros. You gotta know your macros. Ideally, you have 40% protein, 40% carbs, 20% fats. Next one, you wanna know that you're walking, get your steps in. You wanna be walking all the time. Third one, fourth one, you wanna be sleeping right, get your sleeping right. Another one that I haven't mentioned, resistant training. So you need to be doing resistant training at least 3 to 4 times a week, ideally 4. So hit the weights, go hit the weights. Now, ideally you lift 2 times a week with legs, and the other 2 times upper body. And then that way, what happens is you're gonna start putting on that lean muscle mass. But one thing you wanna consider is, do you have a foundation already? So for me, I've been building this body for the last 3 years, you know? So I have a little bit of a foundation. I still got some ways to go, but I'm getting there, you know? I'm really seeing and visualizing my body, and my body's activating now, which is really incredible. So this is something that if you're really wanting to take your body to the next level, I would start researching this. You can also leave some comments below if you want. I can help you out. I can let you know all the things that I'm doing right now currently. And yeah, so that's how, I'm building my body right now. So something I'm looking to start doing is doing this live series where, I'm just gonna jump on. I wanna add value to you. I wanna share what's going on. Or I wanna make it a little bit more based on a topic and jump in here for about 20-minute walk. I've been walking a little bit. I got about 1 minute and 38 seconds left to go. But yeah, this is what I was thinking. I'm gonna come in here. I got my new selfie stick, as you can see. And so Ram asked, what did you eat today? So today is, let me see, it's 10:47. So today I haven't eaten yet. So I'll be breaking my fast around 1 o'clock. So I'll be breaking my fast around 1 o'clock. What I'll be eating is I'll be eating some eggs. I'll be eating tuna steak. I'll be eating, what else will I be eating? Probably some chicken sausages. Okay, yesterday. All right, so yesterday I broke fast at 1 o'clock. Yesterday I had eggs, tuna steak. We just moved into this place too, by the way, so it'll be a little bit off, but I'll just give you what I ate yesterday. I had 4 eggs. I did a tuna steak, which was probably around 250 to 300 grams. I had 4 chicken sausages, 1 cup of bone broth, and what else did I have? Chicken tuna, chicken steaks. Yeah, that's what I had yesterday. Calorie-wise, it's probably under 1,000 calories, maybe just at 1,000. When you see, here's the thing: when you eat meat, it doesn't have very high. It's not very high in calories. So what's nice is it's easy to eat it. You can eat a lot of it, and it just basically your body processes it very well. So to be honest, I probably still need to up my protein intake at the moment, but I'm starting to dial this in. Here's the thing with your body, it comes down to upstairs. If you understand the work that's ahead of you, and you understand that's the biggest thing, right? Getting into the understanding of how to actually build the body you want, right? Because there's a lot of learning, right? Now, ultimately, don't be in a place where like I'm not going to build my body because I don't know what to do. Oh yeah, okay, so the question is, does a protein shake with spinach, kales, protein macros? Yes, really great question. So something that I've learned from, I'm around, to be honest, I'm very grateful for who I'm around here because I'm around a lot of elite people here in Bali. So the information that I'm learning is a lot from them. So it might be out of conventional wisdom that we're used to being fed. Now, again, nutrition is very, very subjective, so I will say that. So I'm just gonna go off of what I've learned and what I've tested so far. from my understanding, when you break your fast, you don't want to break with carbs. So if you're breaking your fast, your body's going to use the carbs instead of the proteins. It's going to go to the carbs first. So ideally, to optimize your body, what you want to do is you want to break your fast with just meat and eggs. And then so when you're talking about your macros, if you're putting kale, like one thing that I would consider researching is actually go deeper into the research of kale. So I used to actually think kale was like a superfood, but if you look at actually the blades of it and how it processes in our stomach, it's very difficult for our stomach to process. So I actually don't eat spinach that often anymore, and don't eat kale. I especially don't eat kale, which was a big mind flip that I learned from coming out here, because it's hard for the stomach to process. We don't really have the enzymes to break down kale. So if you want to break your fast, you can do that. It's a great start. But I would consider taking that out actually from the smoothie. I wouldn't actually put in kale in the smoothie anymore, or do your research, because kale is really tough on the stomach to digest. It actually can't process it. But again, it's going to come down to what you believe in, what's right for you and your sensitivities. Also, you really want to consider how your stomach is. So one of the things that I would consider is not going off of emotion, going off of data. So just recently, I got a lot of things tested. And just to give you an idea, right now, my hormone levels, this is what the lady asked. She said, "Are you taking anything?" And I said, no, I'm not. What about the meat disease debate? Yeah, okay, so I'll go into that. But let me just finish on my testosterone. Just to give you an idea, there's a marker. So they, depending on which one, but I'm gonna go off of total testosterone. Total testosterone, I got tested, and it's, I believe the markers are between 8 and 31. 8 and 31. I came back, or 8 and 30, that's what the markers are for total testosterone. MG something, whatever it is. I came back at a 32. So the lady asked me, she said, we'll just keep walking and having fun here. The lady asked me, she said, "Excuse me, are you taking anything right now?" And I said, "What do you mean?" She's like, "Well, are you on steroids or something?" I said, "No." And I was like, "Why?" She's like, your testosterone is higher than that highest mark usually. And I was like, "Well, yeah, that's because I'm doing all these things to really make my testosterone where it is." So that's also something to consider, is where your testosterone levels are at. So when you start dialing in all of these bits on your body, what can start happening is your testosterone increases, right? And then when your testosterone increases, it's easier to do things, right? It's easier to lift, it's easier to wake up, it's easier to think. You have more energy. Like, my energy sustains throughout the day, and I don't drink coffee. So that's the other benefit of really dialing in your body, is that it starts to bleed in all other areas of our life. Okay, so there's a question about what about the meat and the disease? Yeah, to be honest, I'll be honest with you right now. I don't have the answer for that. I can just tell you what I've tested, and I can just tell you what I've understood to this point. And I can also say I'm completely open to switching again. But from my research and the people that I'm around, which I feel that I'm around a lot of advanced humans in the health and wellness space. Not to say that the internet's not, but I would also consider where the sources are coming from that we've been learning from. What's their agendas? You know, this is a big one, right? Mr. Big Brother is always looking out for us. Is he actually looking out for us? So what are the agendas that are being pushed right now, and the information that's being pushed? So something, just to simplify this, I kind of want to get away from food politics, because it's not really my level of expertise and I can't touch on it. I can only tell you my experience. But one thing I would consider is, like, the World Health Organization talks about diabetes and tells you the diet and all those things, what to do for diabetes. But then you look at what they recommend, and the things that they recommend are potentially, I don't know because I'm not an expert, are potentially the causal factors of the diabetes. Again, I don't want to get into this because I'm not a food person. I don't know that. I can just tell you what's working for my body and what I'm testing. So really great question. I don't have an answer for you. I can just tell you what I'm doing. I'm not an expert. Perfect way to be cordial online. I've been learning this in my future so far. So, but really great question. How often are you eating steak? Great question. So, as far as steaks go, I'm probably eating them 3 to 4 times a week. Probably eating steak about 3 to 4 times a week. There's a lot of fat in the steak as well, so you also want to consider that while you're eating steak, that there's going to be fat in the steaks as well. So the fat tissue is actually really good for us to eat. Here's another thing. Okay, so just to touch on the meats thing, my coach and another person who we're connected to is a biochemist who is basically a ninja at nutrition. She healed herself from bedridden diseases. I don't think you can say heal, but she encourages people to get out of cancer through dietary means. And one of the things they both agreed upon, my coach and her, that there's the importance of having fat. So I was like, okay, so I started eating this thing called ghee. Ghee is basically another kind of butter. And I would put that on my steaks. I would put that on a lot of my food. And I started realizing, I'm working this hard in the gym and the fat's not coming off my body. What's going on here? It's oh, fat's good. Fat's really good. But then I started researching these guys that are jacked online, and they're saying, yo, you gotta be mindful of how much fat you're taking in. Fat's good, but not at past 20% in your macros. So for me personally, I was taking in way too much fat. You know, the fat that you're cooking with, right? And ideally, when you're cooking your meat, you don't want to be cooking it in olive oil. Olive oil, when you heat it up, it's not good. It's not good to eat. What you want to do is you want to use either butter, you want to use ghee, or you want to use coconut oil. I use coconut oil, but then you also got to consider that. Meal, 1 protein shake, kale, spinach. Thoughts on how I can improve. I don't know why. Okay, let's see, live chat. Can I see? Let's see how I go about this. I'm trying to, your comment just left. Okay, do you just want to put that comment back into the screen there, and I'll read it again? Can you put the shake? And perfect, we're right on time. Okay, so a meal day, protein shake, chicken, rice, chicken. How can I improve on this? Okay, so first of all, I would consider how many calories that is at the end of the day, because that's the first marker we want to make, is the amount of calories. And then I would also consider actually the step before that, what's the end goal? You want to think about what's the end goal. So for me personally, my end goal is I'm flexing right now, right? You can see my body, but you can see the distinction, right? Because the fat's starting to come off the body, and you can start seeing the definition, right? But my end goal is to remain having lean body mass while having a low percent body fat. So right now, I just give you an idea. You can take a look at my body. My body right now, that's about 15-ish. Maybe I'm at 14% body fat. Maybe. So this gives you an idea of what body fat percentage we're looking for here. So for me personally, I'm after lean body mass, and I'm after around 12, ideally 10% body fat. But to get to 10% body fat, that's a bit more of figuring out to do. So first I would ask yourself, what is your end goal? Because if you're wanting to just put on size, then what I'm saying here is completely irrelevant as far as calorie intake. You want to put in a lot of calories. But often just look at people, just go online, do a quick search at guys that put on weight, they put on size, but they also put on fat. So it's actually kind of challenging, right, for the body when you put on a bunch of size, right? You put on all the size, but you're also putting on a lot of fat. And then you have to go back and rework that fat. Once you put on the size, you gotta go back and rework the fat. It's like rather put on lean muscle mass at the same time while trimming up, So you can get both in this, because personally, I feel for us as men especially, we want to be jacked. We want to put on muscle and we want to be lean at the same time. We don't want to just, depending, some guys are into this, but from what I've seen and saw out there in the world, it's like, we don't just want to be fat. We don't want to be big, but the causal factors were fat. So how do you get big while staying lean? While having a low percent body fat. And so then this is where you want to consider what level of calories you're taking in. Now, I'd also consider, there's a lot of information, a lot of journey in this. I'd also consider for this as well that, depending on your size that you're at right now, So if you go back and look at where I started in 2019, I was skinny fat. I had not much definition. I was coming off of, my body's still healing from being a vegan. I was very unhealthy. Honestly, in my opinion and how I feel now, I was very unhealthy. I was very, very unhealthy in 2019. So then there's a period of healing for the body to come back to where it came from. Again, it's so interesting, right? When you talk about the body, it's a strange topic because it's like, what do you say about food? Food's become like a religion. It's become so emotional, and it's very, very case by case, and it's very depends who you talk to. So I would also consider just testing for yourself. So let's say you're wanting to put on size. One of the things I'd start researching online is how to put on size but lean size, right? How do you? So that's resistance training, But the thing that I would consider, and this is the information that I've gotten to at this point, you see me right now, I'm on the bike, right? Low impact. Yep, essentially, yes. Yep, so one of the things I'd start doing, Well, it depends, again, depends. Okay, first at the beginning, you don't want to change too much, right? We're creatures of habit and we want to make sure that we're changing at the right time, that we can sustain the change, right? This is the biggest one. It's great if you can make change. We've all heard of the 75 hard, right? I've never done that once, and there's a reason why. Because I'm not trying to go hard for 75 days and then just stop. We want to make a lifestyle change. So the question was asked, like, what should I do? Should I replace steaks? Should I replace my protein shakes? Well, I would just consider this information, right? This is a journey for me. I've gone back and forth, off and on protein shakes. The reason why you want to consider switching off of protein shakes is hard for the stomach to process. And the gut is essentially the main brain, right? So if we can start clearing that gut out of all the processed foods and start eating whole foods, our body's going to be much more happy and our mind's going to be much more alert. So yes, to start out, who cares what protein you're putting in at the beginning, right? These are all stages to it. But first, you need to find out where your body's going to still be in a calorie deficit, where it can still burn, but it still has enough amount of nutrients to build muscle at the same time. That's a calculation you got to do for your height, for your weight, and for your goal weight. So for me, I've had a goal weight to be at 175. When I came to Bali, I was 155. So it took some time, and that means like now I'm burning fat and I'm still at 175. So that means I've kept the lean muscle on the body, right? The lean muscle is on my body. So you want to do that calculation. So let's say you're probably like 6 foot or you're 6'2", right? You're 6'2", you're probably right now at 170, and you want to, your weight and the lean muscle that you probably want to get to is 190. That'd be a good solid 190, 195. Well, look, man, 6'1", 170. Okay, so just take this in, right? Right now you're 6'1" and you're 170. So I'm 5'9" and 175, and look at what it looks like, right? So So probably to someone with a more longer frame is probably gonna want, let's say, that's gonna be, yeah, you're probably happy at 195, 200, 190 to 190, 190 to 200 range. You know, but one thing I would consider too is just use these as benchmarks, because fuck it, dude, if you look great at 170 and you're 6'1" and you feel and look great, who cares what weight you're at? For me personally, I don't really care that I'm at 175. I don't really care from what 165. I don't really care from what 185. It's just a benchmarker. But what I do care about is, okay, what percent body fat am I and how much lean muscle mass do I have? So just to give you an idea, the last transformation I went through, I increased my lean muscle mass by 4%. And here's the number, okay, follow me on this one. I increased my lean muscle mass. That's this stuff that you're seeing right there, you know, the lean, the tight muscle. I increased that by 4%, and I decreased my fat on my stomach by 3%. So I started off at 20% body fat, and I went down to about 17 to 17.5 after 3 months of this body transformation. The workouts that I was doing farmer workouts, so a lot of sled pulls, good for the knees, good for the core. I was doing a lot of heavy lifting, and also high volume lifting as well to promote fat loss and also to put on size and increase strength. So just to give you an idea, to start out my transformation, I was doing no weighted pull-ups. Couldn't do a weighted pull-up. By the end of it, I was doing, right now I'm in the whatever system, so I only know kgs right now. But by the end of it, I'm doing 6 weighted pull-ups at 20 kg. So, you know, I was putting in quite a bit of work, you know, but I was also supplementing that with good energy, good food for good energy, you know. But I was still at weeks, I was only losing about sometimes a 0.01% body fat after a week of work, right? But that's because I needed to tweak my body. I needed to tweak different things of my body. So that's what I'm sharing here today, were those tweaks. And just to summarize those tweaks, I'll go over it again. First one, I found out my macros: 40% protein, 40% carbs, 20% fat. That's what I'm doing. You can do keto, you can do carnivore, you can do vegetarian, you can do anything like that, but just know your macros. If your macros are, if you're eating carnivore, then the carbs they're gonna be irrelevant. The second thing I did, I was doing resistance training about 4 to 5 times a week. So for someone that's just starting out, I would consider resistance training about 3 to 5 times a week. Ideally 4, you can hit 4, that'd be great. Next thing I'd start doing, I'd start walking. I'd put in some headphones, listen to a podcast, start walking, get about between 7 to 10,000 steps. If that's too much, I would get about 6,000 steps in a day. Next thing, your sleep is really important. You really want to be sleeping. Make sure you're going to bed at the right time and getting up at the right time. Consistency, because if your body's not recovering, you're now going to the gym and it's inflamed and you're not maximizing your workouts, which then you're not building the right muscle mass. Another one, intermittent fasting. Create a fast window. You don't have to be like a ninja about this, but just ballpark it. For me, I do about 1 o'clock, I break my fast, and then I eat my next meal anywhere from 6 to 7, around that time. I could close it a little bit, but also you gotta maximize for your day, because your body isn't just the one thing you're doing. You're building your business, you're working, you're hanging out with friends, all this other stuff, having fun with life. So there's all these other components that you also gotta consider as well. But if you get into those basics, and last one, this is a big one, calorie deficit. You wanna make sure that you're in some sort of calorie deficit in the sweet spot where you can increase lean muscle mass and decrease the fat. And if you can hit that window, and I'll do a little research online how to do that. I don't have the exact calculation off the top of my head. And then finally, you can see how many things we're going into. Finally, For you, if you're 6'1" and 170 and you want to get to 190, you got to be eating 190 grams of protein a day. Eat your goal weight in protein a day. Usually protein, you're pretty good. So that'll be kind of hard to get to without protein shakes, 190 grams of protein a day without protein shakes, it's going to be a little bit hard. But reach for your weight. So just to give you an idea of my weight gain phase, 155 going up to 170. What's that? Okay. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Okay. All right, let's make it implementable. So let's dumb it down a bit. That's perfect. Let's make this. So you have the technical term. How many meals? What does that look like? Okay. Okay. Here's your basic next steps. You need to know how many calories you're taking in a day. So what you got to do is do this challenge. You need to know how many calories you're taking in a day. So first of all, you need to get a scale and you need to weigh. You need to weigh all of your food. You gotta weigh it. You gotta see how many calories you're taking in. So that means everything, man. You gotta get the numbers. This is a science here. It's not just by chance you're gaining weight and looking ripped. It's a fucking science to this. So weigh your food. Weigh your chicken. Know how much a chicken. That's your first stage. That's your first stage for 2 weeks. Who cares how much you're really doing? Who cares how much whatever? You just gotta know how much you're putting in. So then you start getting a relationship with weighing your food. Now that you know how much you're intaking, from that point onwards, now you research how do I put on lean muscle mass? So how do I put on lean muscle mass? What's my calorie deficit? Leave a comment below on this video and then I'm gonna take you to the website that will calculate that for you. This guy who I've been researching online has a website that you just plug in the numbers that you are looking for and then it calculates your deficit. So for me, what I was looking for, typically when I was in my weight gain phase, I was eating about 3,000 calories a day. But now, because I've got the lean muscle mass, I can do with about 2,400 for the percent of body fat that I'm going towards. So just to summarize, your first step is to start weighing your food. You just gotta know how much calories you're taking in a day. What will be good is if you're drinking Gatorade, if you're drinking your calories, you gotta know how many calories you're taking in, Like if you're drinking a pop or something, right? Like how many calories are in that, right? So this is sort of some of the things that will make you realize when you start weighing yourself and putting in your food, you're like, is this worth it? Like, let's just put it this way. If I drink a can of pop, I don't know how many grams or how many calories that is, but let's say it's 250 calories. Bro, that's like 5 eggs or whatever, right? Like, that's like 3 eggs. I don't know off the top of my head right now, but we could just do that calculation. It's like, is that worth it? It's like, well, here's a hack, You can use this thing called stevia. Put this thing called stevia in your water. You grab a glass of water, throw a bit of Himalayan salt in it, a little apple cider vinegar, drops of stevia. Stevia has no calories. Boom, you got your sweet drink right there. You got your drink. Have some coconut water. Coconut water is another good option. But if you're drinking Gatorades, if you're drinking pop, even alcohol, right? Like a lot of calories. But if you know your calories, then you can plan your cheats. So let's say you want to have a gnarly meal, you want to eat a big pizza. At least know your calories for the day. So to give you an example, last week when we had a big celebration and I wasn't eating my calories correctly. I was actually in a way too low of a deficit. I was doing like 1,700 calories because of my work and my schedule. So I was like on the Friday, I'm going in. I grabbed a full-on burger, fries. I grabbed something else, a big shit meal. Well, after that, to supplement that, I fasted for 36 hours. So then I can just clear the body out and all that. But these are the kind of tweaks you can start doing to where you can still be a human being and live your life, but then at the same time enjoy things, but at the same time still be disciplined and get the results you're wanting. So go back to the 5th grade English steps to implement. Track your calories. Find out how many calories you're in. Second, comment below to remind me to put the guy's website where you put in the information to find out what calories you need and what deficit you need to be in For you, I imagine it's going to be about where you're wanting to go. It's going to be probably about between 28 to 3,000 calories. And then that's it. Just implement that first. Go there, and don't overcomplicate this. But you can see by how much information I've delivered here. You know, I've been on here for 45 minutes, so I got to jump back onto some calls. But you can see how much there is to understanding this. But this is why I'm coming on here every day for my day. It's called Daily Tredz. So if you want to come back and learn more about this, join me on the Daily Tredz. I'll be jumping on about 20 minutes to 30 minutes a day, doing some lives, asking questions. I'm in the process of really seeing how I can help out my network, help out people, you know, make them feel better inside themselves, get them more confidence, get them in relationships that they want to be in, whether that's love, personal, network, that type of stuff, and really just adding value. So that's the intention with this. Every day I'm going to be walking on here. I hit my steps. Look at right now, I'm at 58. I'm at 5,800 steps. So that's pretty good. So I'll probably end the day around like 9,000 steps today, because I'll come back here and walk on this treadmill a couple more times just to fresh the mind up before I go back into sales. So hopefully that answers your question. Just before I go, leave a comment right now of what you want me to help you with tomorrow. What is something that I can help tomorrow, and then I'll make that the topic for tomorrow. And if you're on at this time, I'll be here. If not, the video will be helpful so that it adds value to you. So just drop a comment below of what it is tomorrow that I can help you with specifically, and then that way it adds more value to you, and it's targeted information. There's a lot to go through, but excited for this new venture, trying to do as much as possible to help you out. And yeah, looking forward to the wins. That's what I'm excited for. Looking forward. This is my journey to, like, right now, this is my journey to 10% body fat, right? With lean muscle, just getting that ultimate superhero body, feeling good in the body too. That's the other thing too, right? You can be jacked and stuck in your body. I'm loose still, you know? I still got range. I still got range in my body, you know? That's the other thing you want too, is not to forget about that, not to forget about the range. How the mechanisms, the actual mechanics of your body as well. You want your body functioning at a high level as well. So I'm gonna jump off here. Have a wonderful day, and if you got any questions, leave a comment below.